Okay, everyone, welcome to the June Audit and Finance Committee meeting. And we have a bunch of items today, and we will start going forward. Ms. Roaring, if you want to lead us, please.
Item 1.1 is the monthly claims auditor report. I would only draw to your attention that this is the new format that we implemented for the board's approval, and it aligns with our policy exhibit.
Mr. Doré, do you have any questions?
No.
So the only question, I see the new format and I see the ones that were, these were caught on the first step of the two-step process.
Yep, they were, and they were corrected, and then the payments were issued.
Okay, instead of catching it on step two, it was caught on step one. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, 1.2.
Item 1.2 are the monthly bills and reports from the district treasurer.
Mr. Doré, any questions on that? Okay. We're good.
Item 1.3 is the resolution for our service contract with Ulster BOCES for 23-24. This is something that we bring to the board each year. This year we have Ulster in advance of July 1. They're seeking for us to ratify that. And then we will also be bringing forward the Orange Ulster BOCES contract when that becomes available.
Mr. Doré, do you have?
We're good.
Good. Is the plan for all these different BOCES ones should be the same this year as the previous years, or is it something that's going to increase or decrease?
So there are some variations because students change, placements change. A number of these BOCES are special education placements exclusively. They aren't providing other services to us. OU and Ulster do provide some other services to us. Ulster is our Mid-Hudson RIC, so we receive a lot of our technology items here. Each of the coasters was reviewed independently during our budget development process, and we concurred as a cabinet and included that in the budget recommendation to the board, what they would be.
Okay. Thank you. Next one, please.
Item 1.4 is a judgment for a tax refund.
Okay. Mr. Doré, do you have any questions?
No.
And these are court ordered, correct?
These two are, yes.
Okay. And next one?
1.5 is also one tax refund.
You don't have any question on 1.5, do you, Mr. Doré?
No.
Okay. 1.6, please.
1.6 is a budget transfer that exceeds $200,000. So Bridgeport policy, we're bringing it forward for approval.
Mr. Doré, do you have any questions?
No. Good.
So, but I did note, I did see that there was a note that it's a contractually Medicare replacement. Is that what it is, or?
It's a Medicare reimbursement based on collective bargaining agreements. We're obligated to make these payments to some of our retirees.
Okay. All right, good. 1.7, please.
1.7 is the contract renewal for quality restaurant repair service. This is for our food service operation. This was done as an RFP last year. They've agreed to extend their contract for 1 year as permitted in the RFP at the same rate. And we are recommending continuation of service.
Mr. Doré, any questions?
My only comment on this is we use an agreement that keeps on saying consultant, but when really they're a contractor, they're not a consultant.
They provide a contract service, yes, more than a professional service.
Okay.
We can talk to our purchasing agent about updating some of the language. These are the templates that we've been given to work with by legal counsel, and so we want to be really true to those templates, but we can make sure that the nomenclature is clear.
Okay, thank you.
Because it implies something.
Yeah,
It's completely different. Yeah.
I don't think we need a consultant to repair
Yeah.
our stoves.
So no.
No.
Normally not.
Their special skill is required.
Yeah. Okay. 1.8.
1.8 is also a contract renewal based on an RFP that was done for 22-23. They again are agreeing to renew at the rate from that RFP. We are recommending continuation of this service.
Mr. Doré, any questions?
Same comment.
Okay. Okay. 1.9.
1.9 are RFPs for food service commodities. We have the milk, the bread, the rolls, and the premium deli meat before the board this evening. Those were all done up by RFP. These are the results of that bid that we're recommending on behalf of the Director of Food Service for approval.
Mr. Doré, you have any?
No, I'm good.
The only question I would have on this, sometimes on some of the things that are out for bid, we see the different vendors' proposals. Was there only one proposal from each of these, or no? Do you know?
I do know there was only one for the meat, and I believe there's only one for the milk. Last year, you may recall that we had 2 milk bids, and we had to rescind our original award because they were unable to perform, so they were not encouraged to try again,
Bid again.
though they did have the opportunity to if they so chose.
All right. Thank you. 1.10.
1.10 is, so the board approved the district to go out and do an RFP for architectural services. The result of that recommendation is award to 2 different architects, and that's reflected in 1.10 and 1.11. This is associated with the May 2019 proposition. And we are recommending these 2 firms for approval.
All right, well, I think there are questions on that. Yes, Mr. Dore?
The question is, on here, it's very open-ended with nothing below it. Is there a cap on the expenditure or?
Their fee structure will be ultimately based on the work that's assigned to them. We are going through that review process to determine what scope of work we will have available to assign to them.
Mhm.
One of the key things that we're waiting on is that independent detailed estimate for CTE that the board authorized at the last meeting. And we are trying to get those documents transmitted so that that work can be done. We anticipate that'll take about 4 weeks. Once we do that, we'll go through a reconciliation process.
Okay.
And we will work with Mr. Velez and Mr. Thornell to identify those items that we can do in the larger proposition, concentrated on BCS priority 1 items. The second proposition is focused primarily on HVAC. We anticipate that that will probably go in its entirety to one of these firms who has a stronger engineering mechanical background.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
So, but continuing on that, we're going to vote on a resolution tonight without any cap? I mean, should it be something that, should it be voted on now?
It should be voted on now because we need to be able to enter into contract negotiations with them and define the scope of work. And that would be subject to legal counsel approval.
Okay, so then it'll come back again. So right now, I mean, I just haven't seen anything that didn't have a cap. And I understand we don't know what we are even going to have them do yet. I understand that. But that's what my question is, why are we approving them for something? You know, I don't know if it doesn't work out once we go forward, do we just say, okay, never mind?
We're still going to have sufficient work to warrant the 2 architects so we can move this project along a bit more quickly than it has been able to move in the last 4 years, to recognize that we have some deliverables for our taxpayers that we need to be good on.
All right, thank you. All right, next, we'll go to 1.12. And I don't know if you want to do it together with 1.13 in reference to fences.
Sure. So 1.12 and 1.13 are also the results of our fees that were issued by the district for both fencing repair services and fence installation services. We've identified some fences that need to be repaired. We've also identified some gaps or fencing that needs to be replaced, which would fall under the fencing installation. Mr. Velez is here with us this evening if you have very specific questions relative to that scope of work.
Well, Mr. Close, could you give us a little brief breakdown of where we need to put some fences and where we have damaged fences we need to repair?
Sure. The most important one in Berkeley School, we do all this work, and in the back of Berkeley, the playground is by Route 32, and we have a fence that's 3 feet high, and it's not, doesn't go all the way to the end of the property. So, God forbid, with this crazy that we live in, we had to protect the kids. So we're going to put a whole new fence 8 foot high, and we're going to enclose the whole property to the stone wall. So that whole back from the gas station all the way to the woods on 32, we're going to put an 8 foot fence instead of 8 foot. I mean, it's this high. That's one. Also, over at NFA, we're having a problem. People coming through the woods to take holes in the fence to get into academic field on the weekends. So we're going to fix that. Behind the Indiana School, we have talked about this building around several times. All the way in the back of the school, we have the same thing, a fence that is very low. And the gates are broken. We're going to replace that entire fence still. Those are the main things that we're working on, and we have quotes. Now, that's why we did the bid, because the quotes, if we go by the quotes, we are above the threshold for bid.
Okay, and you have enough to cover what you need.
We put enough money in the budget to cover those 3 and hopefully more.
Mr. Dore, you have any questions on?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. 1.14.
So a couple months ago, one of the questions that came forward from the Audit and Finance Committee was around how we procure gasoline as a result of one of the warrants. So we are recommending going into 23-24 that we access the OGS contract for P cards with Chase. Board authorized us to have 2 district credit cards with Chase last year, which we use for specific purposes where we cannot use a purchase order. But gasoline would not be one of those things that we would routinely run through a credit card. So the P card, like the credit card, allows us to very tightly manage what's allowed to be expended on it. We can limit it to a specific commodity such as the gas. We can set thresholds on each card that is given to a specific individual to fuel their vehicle, so that we can track who's using what card, how much gas, they look at the mileage. There's a process in place now on internal controls that I believe we articulated to you all earlier on that would still remain in place to ensure that the purchases were reasonable and appropriate before they were paid. But this gives us a mechanism to comply with GML and also put some additional controls in place.
Mr. Doré, any questions?
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, that was discussed. It's not a great expenditure,
Yeah.
but the opportunity to be abused is high.
Okay, 1.14, no, 1.15.
1.15 is to establish a scholarship. We were requested to establish a second dual language scholarship. This one will be specific to NFA. You received one earlier this spring for a scholarship that was done at the elementary level.
And who is behind the scholarship and putting the money behind it?
I will defer to Ms. Tudico.
So this is the scholarship is being funded by Ms. Mikado, who is a Jacinta Torres Dual Language Scholarship. This Ms. Mikado, I believe, is doing this in honor of her mom.
Oh, okay, very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
She is a faculty with us though right now too, I believe. Yes, yes.
1.16.
So this is a bid award for the emergency construction job that the board approved back on March 1st to NFA relative to that rear exit. The emergency project has been submitted to SED. We've gone out to bid. This is the result of the bids.
Mr. Doré, do you have any questions?
My question would be, and I can't recall, how much do we budget for this? Is that within what we thought?
So we budgeted in the capital bond back in May 2019. So the budget was up before that, $675,000.
Mhm.
As we are now in a much different market and we identified 2 other code issues that SED was going to call out.
Mhm.
We have found that the cost is estimated to be the 1.15 million. So that difference will come from the general fund this year.
Okay.
So that we can get that work started. We have a very tight timeline. So these contractors are ready to ensure that they can meet that timeline because we need to have this stuff for the opening of school September 1st.
When you say this year, we're talking about 23, 24 budget?
22, 23 budget,
20.
because the work is starting immediately after you approve the bid.
Okay. Thank you.
That was my question, where it was coming from. From the current year's budget. Okay. Okay, 1.17.
1.17 is a summer transportation bid award. This is to provide transportation to the various summer programs that we offer our students, both in district and out of district.
Mr. Doré. So my question on this, and again, I don't know if it's something you could answer, if this summer bid system, summer transportation, we're now in the new system of busing, correct?
Summer transportation is done separately from that RFP. That RFP was a school year field trip bid. It
Okay.
did not include summer.
Okay, so is this what was expected? What would the cost for this, the expenditure that we have to do for this, was that what was the expected cost?
So the rates that we're seeing in this bid response are similar to what we're seeing in the annual.
Okay, 1.18 conference request.
So 1.18 are conference requests, and Dr. Farrell and Mr. Barry here this evening to respond to any questions on this specific agenda item.
So I'll do the first ones, if you don't mind. So on this agenda.
Wait, could I just say one thing first? That this normally doesn't come through the audit and finance, so that's why we just asked for a little clarification. So we can go public. I'm sorry, Mr. Ford.
Oh, sorry, thank you. So I'll speak to 2 of the conferences that are on here. Mr. Bear and Dr. Farrell will pick up the rest. One of the conferences for Learning Forward is an annual conference, national conference for National Staff Development Council, which is now called Learning Forward. We take a team from central office as well as 2 teachers that come back, and then we figure out how do we implement the new strategies for professional development and strategic planning into the work that we do within the district. As a result of attending this past December, we shared with the board the action plan for what was going to be implemented and the new tools and resources that were received. We'll give you an update on that at the conclusion of the June board meeting to let you know what changed in our practice. I can tell you one thing that did change was the way we do strategic planning. And that was a strategy we learned from our counterparts on the West Coast. The other conference is the Summer Leadership Conference. This is an opportunity for our central office to work with all administrators across the district over the course of 2.5 days, where we try to prepare and work together for the opening of schools. Gotta remember that during the year, our building administrators and our directors and supervisors are delivering PD to teachers. This gives them an opportunity to gather and gain PD. The other thing we'll be doing over the summer is we changed the principal rubric for evaluation. So we'll be training all the principals on the new rubric that we selected, and then adapting that rubric to supervisors, directors, and assistant principals. So everyone's using a similar rubric, modified based on their jobs. So the two conferences I'm referring to, Summer Leadership in Danbury and Learning Forward, I believe is in Maryland, all funded by Title II Professional Development.
Okay, thank you very much.
The other conferences, there are 5 individuals attending Big Picture Conference that renews and reinvigorates the program at NFA West. There is a typo on the one immediately after that, Gear Up. It is only Gerald Ortiz who is attending. Mr. Rothman is not attending. If I could ask to have Mr. Rothman removed from that.
I want to fix it.
Thank you very much. Following that, there are some individuals who will be renewing their training for the Syracuse University project that provides our staff with the ability to provide college level work and this is in science through the super program. And below that, I'm not sure. I think that might be it. I'm sorry.
Mr. Bear.
And then we have a program that's been operating up 3 years called Project Search. It's a national program. It provides vocational and training opportunities for our development disabled students in the last year of their eligibility in high school. These students are attending Crystal Run. They get a whole range of academics, and then they rotate through a series of job experiences, reception, supplies, imaging, cafeteria. They're in the ER, believe it or not. They're helping prepare in the ER. And when they're done, they're almost guaranteed a job making $15, $20 an hour. The folks who are attached to that program have to get trained annually to ensure that they're doing the program as it's described. It's a national program that we have to abide by their framework. And they're doing a culminating activity on June 16th at the hospital. If anybody wants to go, I'll certainly send invitation 10 a.m. in the morning.
Mr. Dore, do you have any question on any of these?
I do on the summer conference in Danbury. We put that together, right? That's ours.
Yes, sir.
We live in the most beautiful state in the country. Why are we spending our tax dollars 50 miles to the east?
The venue at that particular location provides us with an extremely cost-effective price.
Okay.
We can explore if there are local venues that can accommodate our needs at a lower or more reduced price. We'd be happy to check that out.
It's obviously it's not going to get done this year.
Right.
I understand this is in motion, but if we're spending taxpayer dollars, why don't we spend our taxpayer dollars in the and recycle them in the community being New York State, but we do have some pretty nice venues here.
We do, and that actual conference used to be hosted in Albany. We did it in Albany for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was more cost effective for us to do it in Danbury because of the travel, but I'd be happy to explore local areas.
We'll talk next year.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Mr. Ford, one other question. Are all of these pay with federal funds? It's listed that all of them are.
So you'll see a balance between federal and general because we can't use federal funds to pay for food. So we have to use general fund just to provide food for the institute. But the cost of the lodging and all the expenses other than food are done
For
through.
all of them, not just the
For
ones
all
you
of them.
brought up. All right, very good. All right, thank you. And now we have a couple of technology resolutions.
Let's turn that over to Ms. Peterson.
So the first resolution that we have, is from our learning technology grant. So I'm going to let Mr. Brancato, who's here, who's been leading that work around our learning technology grant, tell you about the next two resolutions.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. This resolution is for teacher laptops. Teachers will be supporting digital citizenship instruction in the classroom. So we were able to increase our laptop supply through this grant.
So this is a grant funded resolution for expense. Okay. Very good. Any questions on this, Mr. Dory?
So we're buying 5 of the Dell? That,
Yes.
is that off a state contract?
Yes, it is off of a state contract and I'm gonna forget the acronym, but it's a woman-owned minority business.
WBE.
Which is a part of when we do go for grant funds, they ask that we have certain rubrics that we meet. So we have to search out certain vendors to get that supply.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. Peterson, the next one, please.
So 1.20 is for an RFP response for our typing.com. And Mr. Brancato will speak a little bit more as to why we're using this and why it's important.
Thank you again. So New York State does require us to have typing instruction for K through 12 students district-wide. So this software is standards aligned for kindergarten through 12th grade. And teachers can use this in a resource in their classroom beginning next school year.
Yes, also another benefit to implementing, we've been working with the curriculum instruction department all year to figure out how we are going to get typing in. The main focus of the learning technology grant is how we can embed certain digital citizenship standards into our main curriculum. So this typing program, we have been working on activities to get it into learning blocks and to give scholars the opportunity to prepare for state assessments. I know that we have been talking curriculum and in different places. We piloted this year computer-based testing, where a part of that is going to be typing. There are short and long responses that our students are going to have to respond to, and this will help facilitate some teaching around typing.
And is that for all grades?
K through 8 is expected to be computer-based. We also are going to, the state says that they're also going to be implementing NICE slot computer-based. So the state is really pushing for computer-based testing for students, and we need tools to help prepare them for that.
Mr. Dory, any questions on?
Were there any other responses to the RFP?
There were no other responses for, which we were kind of, this is a top-rated program. There's not as many typing softwares. A lot of the typing software people do use or can use are sometimes free online. However, because we're an educational institution, there's certain rules and regulations that we must abide by. Advertising, different things like that, we can't expose our scholars to. So this is to have a dedicated program that will track their usage. It will also allow curriculum and instruction to see, are students getting the lessons? Are they spending that time to really learn how to type? And this will allow us to do that. It also has digital citizenship lessons embedded into the program, where students are also going to get that exposure as well.
Okay, one other question. I think if you scroll down, there's 2 costs. One's for 11,800. I'm guessing that's students.
That's the student.
And one's for 12,000. I was curious.
I think it's
why-
down further.
No, it's on a separate page.
It's on a separate page all the way at the bottom, I think.
So, so I need to know the total. What is the total only one of those? So there's that 11,800. Above it or below it is one for, I guess below it is one for
So
12,000,
see there, the 19,352.
Mhm.
but one page down. Keep going. There. So
We've
are we spending $40,000? Or are we spending $20,000?
We're spending, the lesser amount. They gave us two different quotes depending on the amount of licenses. So they gave us our beds total.
Mhm.
So that's based on, how much is student enrollment or the issue above my beds enrollment. Which our beds enrollment that they have indicated here is a little higher. So I'm going with the lower amount.
But we're in the $20,000
Yes,
neighborhood.
and that's why I had to do a request for a proposal, because with the size of our district, I know we're in and around that amount.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Are we now going into executive session to
Discuss the auditor.
discuss, employee of the district, contract for the district? Are we doing that?
If that is the wish of the committee.
Yes, we'd like to do that. If everybody else is gonna, good night now. We'll see.